Good afternoon and welcome to More Meets the Eye. I'm your host, Blind Prime, and for today, we have for you the Transformers Studio Series Rise of the Beasts. No, wait, darn it, wrong, rot. Revenge of the Fallen, Devastator, and all the Constructacons. I've been working all weekend to get the Devastator assembled for you, and well, here's an arm. Yeah, that's an arm, and here's another arm, and then over here is is my attempt at the core. Just knocking things over here at Blind Prime. So like I've tried to do it. I managed to do it once for the channel ages ago. I'll tag the playlist in the comments below. But yeah, I managed to do it once ages ago, and poor Morph, I didn't even realize you were over there. But I haven't been able to do it again. And, you know, that I was thinking about it, like, well, darn it, I wanted to actually review the combined mode of Devastator, and then, no, actually, what I instead want to review is a combination failure. That's what I want to talk to you today about. So we're not talking about how glorious it feels in the hand today. We're not talking about, you know, how it looks when it's complete. We're talking about the fact that it's nigh impossible to complete it. That's what we're talking about today. I have no idea how many people have managed to, you know, do it in the poses and things like that, because this thing sucks. The stupid, nuts, it's already falling over. Alright, so this stupid foot made out of the bulldozer, which I've forgotten his name, and I don't even care enough to remember it, because it just, this figure absolutely is the reason I created More Than Meets the Eye. The first episode of More Than Meets the Eye is about this stupid bulldozer and how ridiculous it is, and how much I want to curse it up and down, left and right. I want to say all the things, and all I can say is it's ridiculous. That's what it is. I hate it. And I hate the fact that even whenever you put it on the foot, it still has a bit of give. Look at that. Look at that non-ratcheted give inside of the bulldozer. So, you know, if you moved it the wrong way or something, boom, it's just moving forwards, and now you've got an entire collapse of your system there. And, you know, now your Devastator, which costs you a lot of money, and this isn't cheap to collect, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. This wasn't cheap to collect at all. This was terrible to collect. You got two $50 figures, which, by the way, you know, to new collectors, they used to be $50. Now they're $55. Welcome to us being upset. So then you got two $50 figures, and then you had 1, 2, 3, and 4 $30 figures. Yeah. And then you had two $20 figures on top of it. Okay, so you look at it, $100, and then, you know, 4 times 3 is 120, so that's $220, and then you had an extra $20 from times 2 on top of that, and that's $260. Okay, this thing cost you $260 to assemble. And no, I just cursed. I didn't mean to, but that's just, it needed to come out right there. Okay, the money that you spent on this to get it built up and you get it together, yeah, it was spread out over a couple of years, and I do appreciate the fact that they did spread it out over a couple of years. Really helped with that, you know, that $260 price tag. But as you collected these things, you know, each individual piece wasn't cheap, and then you had people getting online and actually making parts of it even more expensive, like Load over here, the dump truck. Not Overload, that's actually the hips. Heavy Load. Anyway, look, I'm having a hard time remembering the names because I'm just so upset at this thing. I've been trying since Thursday to get this thing built, okay? I did a video where I had the pieces, you know, the arms at least kind of put together, but I don't even know how to do the arms correctly because there's nothing really intuitive about it. The only intuitive part about these hands, these two pieces, where it's the two $20 figures that connect together, Scrap Metal, which I remember the name of because he's literally my favorite figure in this entire set, and he costs 20. Like, if you want to just get the best figure out of the entire set of Constructacons, just get Scrap Metal. All right, don't worry about the rest of them. And then Hightower here, I remember him because You know, I should have bought a few of him. Anyway, Hightower here is... They had a male and female connector that I was like, oh, well, they obviously go together, and then it connected, and then there's this part that has a high ratchet in it. Yeah, it's a nice ratchet. That part is obviously supposed to plug into an arm, but is it like it locks into place? But is that a soft lock? Yeah, that's a soft lock. That isn't a hard lock, and so it just flops around, and so you just got an arm that floppies, you know, underneath. You know, this stupid arm assembly we have here. You know, where's that stupid arm assembly? All right, I'm going to set it over here with the other arm. By the way, the other arm here is just one truck, okay? It's just one vehicle, and I'm like, okay, cool, make one arm out of one vehicle. That sounds appropriate. That sounds right. You know, I wonder, you know, are you supposed to pull him out or something like that to make the arm a little longer? No, you're supposed to just kind of get this arm from this one vehicle to be about roughly the same, you know, size and weight as the arm from the other vehicle. But sadly, you know, the one arm that's the front end loader, which is my favorite, second favorite out of this group. You know, I got scrap metal and this guy, the arm, because they're just so much fun. Anyway, these two guys are just they weigh different, and they're definitely different shapes. They're not the same length, unless I, you know, completely mistransformed this. But then again, I could have completely miscontransformed it, because it's not even, there's nothing intuitive about this. You just got to go ahead and guess. All right, I think I'm making a hand and an arm, right? I'm going to make an assumption. And that's what I did here. I made assumptions. I made a lot of assumptions. And I hope I got the assumptions right. But then again, I don't know if I got the assumptions right, because this was the least intuitive transformation. And this literally turned me off of the entire Studio Series line. The only reason I got 86 is because they look, you know, there were the blockier things with more intuitive transformations. You know, you move this thing here, it just kind of makes sense. With this, there's so many freaking joints that you don't know what makes sense. It's madness. It's madness in the form of plastic. That is what the Studio Series RotF Devastator is. And it deserves an F, and it deserves to rot, because it's both those things. It's a rotten F-rated transformer. And I haven't even gotten to my least favorite part of it yet. We're still on the parts of it that I'm okay with. Yeah, I'm okay with these parts. I'm outraged by it. I just simply, how I was in. So that was the other problem with collecting one of these Constructacons or these combiners over a span of time, is you're locked in once you go over a certain threshold. You know, once I had spent over $100 on it, I was completing it. And that, you know, it happened. And the things, you know, another thing that gets me is this shoulder assembly is just, yeah, and I know there's some way to connect this back panel here, but we're going to get into my problems with the stupid wheel, and the fact that there's not an intuitive place for the majority of overload to go. And like, you just need his hips, and then everything else is supposed to just fold up and just kind of go places, when you could use snaps on them and things to really, you know, increase the stability of this. There's not enough snaps. There's not enough connection points. And this stupid hip here, I mean, not hip, shoulder joint is just, it's bad. It's really bad. And then the way it connects to the arm is with this folded over arm from whatever the Wheelbot's name was. And it connects there. The connection point is pretty simple to connect, but then it just kind of weighs it down. It doesn't, this isn't stable. This isn't a good, sturdy connection point. This is a terrible connection point. This is a terrible shoulder for a Devastator to have. I give this thing worst Devastator ever, because they were trying for too much, and they didn't make it even intuitive. And now, you know, I'm gonna bring up probably my least favorite part. Okay, so I got three parts that I absolutely despise about this. 4 parts I absolutely despise. The upper half of overload, where you don't know where his feet are supposed to go, or everything else. There's not a clear direction. There's not a clear place to put them, or that stupid back panel thing that folds up. There's nothing clear on that. It's not clear, and it's stupid that it isn't. Like, it's just a mess. It's madness. You know, the dump truck is really good. I like the dump truck. I like how its leg is made. It's made a good leg. It's a sturdy leg. It's a solid leg. It's the only leg that is solid, because that stupid Pogo Bot, GD Pogo Bot, the worst transform. Everyone talks about, oh, the twins were terrible. No, let's talk about the bot that was a pogo stick. Huh? Everyone talks about the twins being so bad because they were racist. Like, yes, the twins were racist. I agree with you, they were racist, but they were not the worst robot in that movie. They were not the worst in that movie, okay? The worst was the robot that had no legs. It literally just bump, bump, bump. What is that? Makes no sense whatsoever. And he wasn't even the right size to combine with Devastator with everything else. I've talked about there's 2 robots in the entire studio series Devastator from the RotF movie that have no business being there. And one is that stupid bulldozer. I hate the Pogo bot. I despise the Pogo bot. And we're going to talk about the other one because it's also something I hate. And I remember this guy. This is Mixmaster here. Now, Mixmaster is the hands down the worst part about this Transformer. Okay? And it comes to the connections. That's where this thing has failed. Really, truly, 100%, this thing has failed on the level of connection points. The arms are connected appropriately, but the shoulders that are supposed to be made to hold the weight of the arm on that connection point is not connected appropriately. It's too loose. It's flimsy. And I fear it's going to fall apart. I fear it's going to fall apart. And then we get to the connection on that. Yeah, the other connection point that's really bad is for the bulldozer. That connection is onto the bulldozer, where they didn't design the bulldozer to have a little, one more ratchet in him in order to stop that fall forwards motion that happens sometimes. That's not supposed to happen. That shouldn't be happening. It doesn't happen with the dump truck. It just happens with the bulldozer. And that shouldn't be happening. They should be, perfectly level on that end. But it does happen with the bulldozer, and it does make your figure. I came in here after I heard a god-awful collapse, and that's because the guy folded forwards at the bulldozer. And, that's just what I'm calling it. Look, he failed it forward at the bulldozer. I just said failed it forward. He folded forward at the bulldozer. Good God. Like felling a tree. Because that's what happens. That's the noise it makes. It just boom, and things go scattering. It's not fun. Then we got the head here. We got the head for Devastator. This thing is atrocious. Okay, I like the head transformation. I like the way that this cool feeling head just kind of forms out of everything. That's really neat. I appreciate that. I'm not dissing that part. What I'm dissing is this connector at the back, okay? So the way you connect him to Devastator here. Now let me make sure I don't have anything in the way, because I'm just going to drag your sorry butt. Just drag it up. There we go. Okay, so the way that it's supposed to connect is in here, inside of this mass of just nonsense, is this solid T. Okay, this T's got a little. It's got like a 8mm peg on each side of it. All right, that's a nice T. That's a solid T. That's actually like connected to everything. That is a solid connection point right there. Problem, there's actually a cut in the middle of it that makes it like squish together a bit. That makes it a little hard to get a solid connection on. Okay, all right. Another problem. Oh, what does it connect to? Why, by golly, it connects to these little holes on the back ends of the wheels for the rear of the cement truck. But these little holes on the back ends of the wheels, the rears of the cement truck that are made to connect in that port are on things that have side movement. So if you do it wrong, or if you put too much pressure on it, it could collapse inwards. It could collapse outwards. Yeah. Isn't that fun? And of course they give you a little, like, oh, well, you can parts form the front half of the cement truck in order to come over here and connect to these 2 points on either side of the cement barrel, and then that gives it an extra stability point. Yay! Except that if it just moves like it does whenever you're trying to connect it, if it disconnects from over here where you got to come around to the side of the vehicle mode, you got to come to this wheel point that's just not it's a fake wheel with a little hollow thing that feels like a port that nothing connects into. You got to come over to that thing, and you got to squeeze it in to lock it into place. You got to do it on the other side, too, occasionally, to make sure. But don't squeeze it in wrong to lock it into place, because there's 2 ways to lock it into place. And one way is the wrong way, and the other way is the right way. All right? You understand what I'm talking about here? Because I don't anymore. That's what I'm getting at. That's what I'm getting at. I think it's really cool that we got a separate head connector. I just wish that the connection point had just been something solid connected to this front area, the stupid truck, okay? You folded this bit back, you fold it in like that. All right, you got this crazy alien back of the head going on here. You make the solid connection point right there at his chest area, okay? You have a point where we can put our fingernail in and break our fingernail off, pulling out this thing that would fold up, okay, and revealing a hole, all right? And then here at this area, in this thing, okay? I know, I'm designing it for free, okay? Now, at this point here, instead of having 2 points that come out and aren't even really connected together, instead you just have 1 point that comes out, and it's got a hook on the end. Yeah, okay? And to make it easier for falling stuff, you don't actually have it solidly connected to this robot. Instead, you have it in there in its own little groove that it connects into. That way, if it breaks or something like that, it can be easily replaced with 3D printing. Anyway, so you have a whole socket in that section that's got solid area, just a hole there that this piece would pop into, because you're okay doing parts forming. So why not do a little here? All right, and then it has a little hook arm, a little C-clamp coming out of it. Okay, and then when you unfold this thing under here, you reveal a bar inside there, and then this bar would just connect onto that C-clamp and a god-awful clunk, and a little snap kind of noise. And then you would have a head that can move up and down, and you don't worry about it falling off or upsetting anything, because it's set to the center of this robot. It's at the core, okay? So that means that its weight is evenly distributed. Instead, you give us a connection point on either side of a stupid freaking arm, where this thing will just pop out randomly, and then the head just falls forwards. It's not cool. It's not fun, okay? It's not. And honestly, I'm tempted to sell this guy off in order to have some money. But I really like the vehicle modes for everything but 2 of them, okay? Well, 3 of them, counting Overload, because I don't know what Overload's supposed to be. You could have tried harder making another vehicle. There's actually really cool vehicles that Overload could have become that made more sense. Instead, you gave us something that I had never experienced in my entire life. And I'm like, what is that thing? You could have just given us a bigger dump truck. Bigger dump trucks exist. It would have been okay. You could have given us something other than the vehicle mode Overload had, because Overload's vehicle mode is weird and trashy, and it sucks. All right? It's too long. It doesn't make any sense. I don't even know what it's supposed to be. But at least, Overload's vehicle mode is in scale with the stupid boxy thing that Wheelbot becomes. The giant front-end loader for mining companies, for strip mining. And the crane truck that Hightower becomes. That's also, to scale. And then you have scrap metals front-end loader. No, that's not a front-end loader. Digger. The digger, crane, or whatever you call it. That thing. That thing is to scale with the crane truck, which is to scale with the big boxy thing that Wheelbot becomes, which is to scale with Overload, which is to scale with the other arm guy, the front-end loader, which is to scale with the dump truck. You know what's not to scale? The stupid Mixmaster's vehicle mode. It's to scale with normal, standard-sized vehicles from the G.I. Joe, not G.I. Joe line, from the Transformers Generations line. Like normal stuff like that. The other stuff I've mentioned has been scaled to things more on the core class scale, the Legends class scale, for Transformers. I've noticed that. I look at the rearview mirrors, and the rearview mirrors are your hint to scaling. And I don't know, I just OCD about scaling. All right, and Mixmaster and the stupid Pogo bot upset me because they're not to scale with everything else. And yeah, I know, I'm just way about scale stuff, but honestly, it's how I feel about this product. It is. This is the stuff I feel about whenever I think about this. And I came back to it years later thinking, all those thoughts and feelings I had for it were just because I was feeling maybe a little buyer's remorse. So maybe if I come back to it later, when everything's calmed down and everything's relaxed with me, and I'm better at doing this YouTube thing, I'll just come back at it, and I transform more Transformers. And no, this is still, I had to actually pull up one of my Blindformers episodes and teach myself using it, which I was actually very happy I did that well enough. I figured it out by watching myself. I was like, I'm going to test myself today. Can I teach myself how to transform the dump truck into a foot? Because I forgot. And I did teach myself through a video. And so it works. I'm going to actually, like I said earlier, I'm going to post the playlist to the original studio series videos I did on this, which is old blindformers material, by the way, so be prepared for that, because I've changed over time, getting more and more used to doing stuff in front of cameras. Anyway, Mixmaster's cement truck mode is not to scale with the other Constructacons, and neither is Pogobot's dump truck mode, which is a shame. Not dump truck mode, bulldozer mode, which it's a shame, because they actually make, bulldozers that are as big as everything else that have been part of this. It's just weird that they did that, and they did that partially so that you could recreate scenes where he's a smaller robot. And I'm like, cool, you could have just released us a smaller robot for $20 instead of the $30 one you charged us. And you could have made a more complicated one that's actually made to combine with Devastator for $30. And then people that just wanted the stupid Pogo Bot for some scenes from the movie could have gotten the stupid Pogo Bot from scenes in the movie. And those individuals of us who wanted the stupid Pogo Bot in order to finish out our Devastator could have had an appropriately sized stupid Pogo Bot to finish out our Devastator. Stupid Pogo Bot. And then the stupid head with its stupid connection. That's why I say the rise of the fallen, no, Revenge of the Fallen, yeah, RotF Devastator from Studio Series may look cool. RotF Studio Series Devastator may seem cool. You may remember it fondly from the movies. But it is not worth a cent from you. I don't think anybody should be messing with this. I seriously consider this if you want to get really upset and angry, transform this, because it will piss you off. But if you want to have a good time transforming things, let me transform them first, so I could tell you whether or not it's worth your time and money. Because I'll tell you this right now, if you're not into the really cool, I like the really cool construction vehicles. I just keep everything in construction vehicle mode except scrap metal and occasionally load hauler. Overload? No. Long haul. Long haul's the dump truck. I got his name. I remembered it. Yeah, long haul's robot mode, because both of their robot modes are kind of cool. So is the robot mode for this arm guy, wherever he is. Anyway, but the robot mode for Wheelbot sucks. The robot mode for the Mixmaster sucks. And just about every one of them else does too. It was really a big. There's a lot of misses, and so if you're ever wondering why does scrap metal and long haul seem so expensive, well, it's because that they're actually really good transformers, and I highly recommend those two. They're a lot of fun. It's just the long haul's not as intuitive as I wish it was. Anyway, I've yelled at you long enough about this thing today and ranted long enough about Studio Series Devastator. Here's hoping that when they release Studio Series 86 Devastator next year, Studio Series 86 Devastator has a fun and complicated transformation that is intuitive and has places where things can snap down, so you don't get all the dangly bits. Because I don't really like dangly bits. But I think, if you make a transformer where everything locks down solidly, and it doesn't feel flimsy whenever it's in Devastator mode, that's really what I want. I want a Devastator that doesn't feel flimsy in Devastator mode. They did it with Motormaster. I know they had to cheat a little for that. Some severe parts forming in a way with that trailer, but still, Motormaster is the most solid combiner I've ever experienced in Transformers. And I've held a lot of different combiners, but Motormaster's just solid. He is a good combiner. And I'm glad that Studio Series Devastator from Revenge of the Fallen isn't our only example of a modern day combiner. I'm glad that we have Motormaster's Menasor as a combiner. I'm not saying Motormaster instead of Menasor. I'm sorry. Menasor is a combiner. Menasor's a good combiner. And from what I've been hearing about this Magmatron, that's also a decently good combiner. At least the little bits I've heard about it. Now, don't take my word on that one. I don't have it, I don't know it, and I just don't have the budget for it. So that's something that you're not going to see on this channel unless it is gifted to this channel. But that's my experience with Studio Series Devastator and why I give it the title of worst combiner Hasbro has ever made. Because it is. And it's not from bad plastic, and it's not from bad vehicle modes or bad robot mode. What it comes down to is those bad connections. It's got the worst connections of any Devastator I've ever experienced or any combiner I've ever experienced. It's kind of an example of how not to connect these things. And I think that needs to be remembered. I may get flack for my opinions on this, because plenty of people praise Devastator. But I'm here telling you that as a blind person, I despised it. And I'm going to go through the long and arduous task of transforming these all back into vehicle modes, and then storing away Pogobot and Mixmaster, because I don't ever want to see them around. Also Overload, because it's just big and bulky, and I don't like it. Alright, thanks for watching. Until next Prime, bye-bye for now.